Hello, a very warm welcome to the first day of Game Asset Camp. Today, we want to talk together about the process of creating the resources we need during the camp. An important event that is going to happen in today's tutorials is that we are going to take a step, which is one of our most important steps in the process of creating game assets. We can look at it from several angles. I'll tell you a few of them here. Along the way, you will slowly understand yourself how important this issue is. What you see in the picture is 4 tileable materials, or 4 tile textures that we made in Substance Painter, and 2 label sheets that we made in Painter again. The process of making each of these can be different by you. Here I use Painter, actually, because we could put it as a prerequisite, and knowing it is very important. You can use Designer, use Photoshop, or any other method you know. Now, where's the main point? The main point is here, that when we come and make these, why at all? Where and in what form are we going to use them? Before I go to show you on the final scene itself and talk about this issue, let me come here and review a concept together. On day 0, when we were talking about UV, we said, "Sir, if we are looking at a single object, many of the things we are saying don't matter at all. But if our objects or our assets are becoming multiple, for example 5, 6, 10, becoming a collection, the important event that exists is the texel density discussion." Texel density was that same criterion and scale that made us understand that, sir, is this checker size of yours large or small? Between different models, too, we looked at this issue and checked. Now this UV space that you see here, if we want to review it very briefly, the whole fight is over this issue. When you want to take it into Substance Painter and perform your material processing and/or your texturing there, or anywhere that is supposed to perform texturing on the model, this UV space is important. Why? Because you must arrange your UV layout and all your UV cluster is inside this space. We said we have 2 models, for example, a wall model, a barrel model, and we came and arranged these inside this UV space. The event that happened, the checker size of this model became very large compared to this, and the checker size of this model became very finer compared to our wall. We understood its reason, which is the difference in texel density. Now, we said this is wrong, so definitely we cannot take the wall model, which is a large model and is going to be used many times in our whole project, into Painter and process material on it. We must consider another method for it. What is the reason? If we come and apply texel density on all UV islands, the event that happens, I put this here as a representative, actually the approximate size of our UV space. Look, the UV layout has become large. My UVs are so large that they don't fit in this space at all. And if you were thinking to yourself that, sir, I'll go forward with the UDIMs method, a wall in a project is not worth it for you to consider multiple UV spaces, which becomes the same UDIMs, or multiple materials for it. We must pay attention to this too, because a large and important part of the optimization process exactly goes back to this same material and texture. Okay, but what about this object of ours? This is also larger compared to the totality of the story. Here I said, my texture size is 2K. Texel density too that I want is 2K. And this thing I see here, if I come and make my texture size 4K, now this fits in this 2K. And this way we can take this barrel of ours into Painter and work. Now these are all approximate examples, so we can understand what is going to happen behind the scenes. Where and how we decide an object can go into Painter for material processing and texturing, an object cannot go. Now let's go into the scene itself. Look, this is the final scene again. Okay, now if I come and look here, the quality of what I see here on the door, The quality of what I see on the wall with what I see on this column, for example, or see on the floor, or see on the barrels, is the same. I go to unlit mode. Here we can check this issue much more beautifully. Look, you don't see quality drop here. The quality here on this barrel, on its material, on its texture, is the same as what you are seeing on this wall. This happens when we use textile density in our work. And think about it. Now this wall didn't go into Painter. So how was it material processed? By these materials we made here. Tileable materials we made here. When we made these tileable materials, we bring them into the game engine and apply them on our model. We also use these label sheets to add the details we want on the work. In this form that you see here, for example, if I want to show you, if I select this, it is a completely separate page, which, well, I will talk about these later. Now, let's go to their creation process, learn how we create these, take them into the game engine, and use them. Well, for the first step, we must go to Painter software and set up our file. The work I want to do now is usable for all tileable resources. So we go into 3ds Max software, draw a plane. It's okay if our plane has nothing, meaning even if it doesn't have this simple subdivision, it's okay. We give it a material, and don't touch its UV. Its UV must remain whatever is default. I select it. I come here, select Export Selected, and save it on the desktop space. In this export window, option we have here, we only activate the smoothing group option. We click OK, and now we go into Painter software. In Painter software, the work we do, we go File, New, and here click the Select option. When we clicked this, we select our plane, and that's it. No other special setting is necessary to be done here. I click OK. Actually, the file opens, we see it here, and we go to baking. Its baking process, we set its size to 4th high, set anti-aliasing to 4x4 or 8x8, and here I also turn on the bent normal option. Well, no other special setting is necessary to be done here. We just click the bake option and wait for our bake to finish. Well, the bake process finished. The works we must do is come into Texture Set Settings, change size from 2K to 4K. In the Channels section here, add Ambient Occlusion. Add Opacity too, especially for Label Sheet, because we are going to use opacity a lot. After that, we come into Shader Settings section, and here the work we do, first we check Double-Sided in Geometry. Then in Opacity, we check Enable Alpha Blending. And finally, I also turn on the Bent Normal option, if you like to turn it on too. I generally like its effect on the work. Okay, this is it. Now we do our arrangement here in this 2D space, and we can see the result in the 3D space. Well, what is the work we do? I put a series of icons for you. Let's examine these together. These icons are things I used in the label sheet creation process. Well, you can create these very easily yourselves. You can use ready alphas in Painter. You can very easily create these in software like Photoshop, Illustrator, or even Substance Designer. Bring and use them. You can also bring and use resources from the internet. These are not things we want to get stuck on much. Really, the forms are very simple forms. For our work speed to go up here, I created these. I put them at your disposal. You can use these very same ones and advance your work. Okay? The work I do is I add all these alphas to my library. I drop these here and introduce all as alpha and say, sir, bring into the project and add these. Okay, I put this down here because we are going to use it a lot. Let it be here for now. Well, the work I do is I say I create a fill layer, name it back, and create another fill layer, name it label. Well, this back, the work I do is I say, sir, only be color, only be opacity, opacity be 0, its color be black too. Nothing be seen, if it was seen, be black. And for this label, I define a black mask. Now, the work we must do is the arrangement discussion. Our arrangement can be in any form. It just has an important point. The important point is here that if I come here, show you the final sheet, in this sheet we generally have two parts. This thing I am telling you is for all sheets. We will reach it, check one by one together too, and execute it. We generally have two models of detail in our sheets, or two models of label. Single labels become these things that are up here, go individually and place on the object. And labels that have extension and become tile, but their tile is not like tileable textures that tile from top and bottom and left and right. They only tile from one direction. Now we took left and right here. This left and right method is a common method too, meaning you see most of these sheets that tile in this way. Well, now I show you what effect it exactly puts in our work process. For now, let's just know this much, that these most tile from left and right side, some of them, which becomes those continuous lines. Some of them too, which are single. It's not necessary for us to think about them being tile at all. Well, let's go to the creation process. The work I do is I take these alphas, drop here, consider it as mask, then set it to none mode. Start arranging. We can bring this up here. We can make these ourselves in Painter easily too. For example, I can very easily bring a fill layer, set it to 1, set it to none, make it small, bring for example here, make it same size with this thing I have here, like this, and then consider a fill layer, make it strip, and set its blending mode to multiply mode. Now here I can increase and decrease my tile. Turn this one off too so it doesn't affect here. Or we can put it up here so we can see these simultaneously. Well, now I can come and move this strip, consider rotation for it, and consider that form I have in mind here. That's simple. So we shouldn't only bring something from outside Painter. We can make these ourselves inside Painter too. Now here, for our speed to be higher, I preferred to use an alpha that was made before. Okay, I do our arrangement very simply here. Then we go to the discussion of these trim parts we have down here. The next item I want to work on is this. I took a duplicate and added this alpha here. I arrange it here. Again, I take a duplicate, bring it this side, and add the next item. For example, this can be, we can take its size a little smaller, put it here. Look, generally the arrangement we have here is an arrangement that can be based on our need. We see some shapes at all that we don't need, we cannot put them at all. Or we see some items are here, but we want to change its form a little, for example. We can do this very easily. For example, I can bring this circle here, place it here, and put it in the heart of this triangle that is here. And this creates a totally new form for us. I do my arrangement here, we bring it to conclusion, and return on trims. We proceed with a short talk together. I actually arranged single here, and our work finished. My arrangement here, a question might arise for you, that for example, why some are larger? Why some are smaller? No specific rule and law exists for it. You based on the degree of importance, now the quality of that resource you have, for example, sometimes you take an image from the internet, you see that well, if you make it very big, it becomes pixelated and things like this. You proceed with your arrangement. Here we could arrange all these items very same size next to each other, but it would create a problem. That was because the shape of these icons of ours was different. Some, for example, were square, some were rectangular. This way, if we wanted to arrange these next to each other, it would cause our work to be ruined. And another point. You see this which is bigger, we took this bigger so that, for example, in the work we are doing, we take these, arrange on our models, so these labels are added to our model. I can arrange two other shapes in the heart of this larger border, or things like this caused me to decide, well, let some be smaller shape, some and for the first item, I use this icon No of 15. I drop this here. Of course, icon 15 is not very interesting. We can use icon 19. And I want to use this for what? To come arrange these next to each other 45 degrees, but not in this form. In what form do I want to do this? I come here, actually search in the grayscale section, tile generator. Well, guys who worked with Designer know tile generator well, know actually what it does. But for those who don't know, we can repeat something, a shape, a subject, in actually X and Y, in column and actually row, with this tile generator. Now it gives us a series of controls that can make our work very easy. For example, now I come into Pattern section and set my type to Image Input mode, and come down Image Input, Pattern Input, and give it icon number 19. Well, this up to here didn't become anything special. But I come here, say that in the X amount and Y amount section, meaning number of row and column, I want to make some changes. Sir, I want to make my Y 1 and my X number, for example, become 20. Well, now the work it is doing, it comes once in Y. It comes once in Y, repeats this shape for me, which becomes this same thing I am seeing, and comes 20 times in X, repeats this work. Well, but it created stretching, and I don't want this stretching. So I come into Size section, in Size Mode section, set this to Keep Ratio mode, and done. Well, now this Keep Ratio can help me. I can use other models too. For example, in this same normal size that is here, I can come say, sir, size X become more, for example, become 3. Well, and the more this size X becomes, as you can see, it seems my stretching is becoming less. Now, to be able to set this well, first we must come into Rotation section and rotate this 45 degrees, because we want to create a diagonal hatched strip, actually. Well, I bring this down, place it here, for example, and start playing with this size number to reach my desired result. Okay, I bring this down here, like this, that I can work with this scale too, and finally reach the thing I want here. That's simple. Well, I made one of my trim strips. The next strip I want to make, again, I come add a fill layer here, give it a white color actually, set its UV wrap mode to none, and here I bring this up and place it in this condition. Well, this by itself means a white strip, but I don't want it to be an empty white strip. I want a series of shapes to be subtracted from inside it. How can I do this? I bring this fill layer of mine layered down, and set this icon 15 to linear dodge mode. Because I want to subtract from this fill, it is better to be down, so nothing is subtracted on icon 15. I can come use icon 20 and 21 here to set them up. Well, this easily I could create a strip that if it comes on my object, let's go into Unreal, I explain this to you. Look, now here in this model I have, well, if I come draw a strip on the model and set its UV with this label sheet I'm making because it tiles from left and right, this pattern of mine comes and repeats on this strip. This is exactly the whole logic that we want to use here. Now, when it is repeating, because a shape has been subtracted from it, the event that happens, that repetition creates an attractive pattern for us and doesn't just create a straight white line. We come in Substance Painter and make our next strip. The next strip I want to make, again, I can come use this same tile generator system. I take a duplicate of it. This time I name it Arrow. And here in my custom input section, I add this, well, in rotation section, I zero my rotation, like this, and in pattern section, I come make my X number less. I set it to 10. Well, now the event that happened is that now, because I had come and made changes in these sizes, now the totality of my work is ruined too. Now what can I do? Set the sizes again to reach the result I want. Very simple and very easy. Well, considering that this pattern of ours still needs work, we must go back and forth a little, set the sizes, things like this. I pause the video. Do the works. When our pattern was completed, both trim and single, we go to the material creation process, which is very simple. I tell you a few points, we export, go inside Unreal, and proceed with our work there. Our arrangement is almost finished. No special thing is necessary to put here anymore. Now we want to go to the material processing discussion. In our material processing discussion, since these are labels, generally there aren't many special details in them. We can do one thing. What is it? It is that we come first of all consider a roughness for it, meaning say, Ogar, this roughness of yours, which we can now, for example, make it very glossy, so we see the glossiness here first. Then, for example, come say that, okay, I can set a number 0.35 for you. Now I put another roughness variation for you. Well, then I come here, give black mask. I come here, take roughness, bring its number up. For example, set it to 0.8. And here I give you a black mask, a fill layer here. I come to grunges. In these grunges, I can select different models, test, see which one answers more and better here, okay? For example, first of all, I go to a grunge wipe, like this. For example, I select this. Like this, I'm increasing its tile. For example, I set it to 5. And I give it a color too, a color almost dark, like this. Of course, I'd decrease its opacity a little. For their height number, I consider a positive number, so we generally have some amount of bump in normal, okay? This now like this. Well, meaning our base work is something like this. Well, very good. Now another work we can do is come put a fill layer, name it edge worn, and come give it a black mask. Now what does this edge worn do? We come decrease opacity a little, meaning we set it to 0, and then add color. We darken its color a little, or we cannot put color at all, because we set opacity to 0, color is not seen at all. Because color is not seen, so it doesn't need at all, only we make its height a little negative, a number like negative 0.05. Now, the work we do, first of all, I put a fill layer here, I bring trim, consider anchor point for it, same single too. Well, here I come make a mask, a black mask. Put 2 fill layers, say single with trim, both merge with each other. My masks become 1. Here, now in mask section, I have both. Here separately, I came merged them together here. Now an anchor point named mask. In edge worn, I come apply mask here. Now when I applied mask here, it becomes like this, that inside those things I made becomes empty. I don't want this to happen. I want this issue to happen only on the edges. So what do? I come define fill first. After I defined, I come attribute a blur filter to it. Well, when I attributed blur filter, I let that same number 0.5 be. Now what is the work I do? I come add another fill layer, and again go load this same mask. Well, then I set its blending mode to multiply mode. Let's go see here together what happened. From the beginning, our mask is there, blurred, then multiplied by itself. What happened? You see the outer margins of mask that were blurred are cut, and only the mask itself is blurred, and creates a round form on the edges. Well, I increase its number a little. Okay, now what do? I come add another fill layer. For example, I consider a dirt here. I think dirt 4 is good. We can increase its tile a little, for example, set it to 2, or we cannot change it at all and let it remain on 1. We bring its balance down a little and set it to subtract mode. Well, now it started creating corrosion. Well, on my whole work, okay, no problem. If I press M, we see here that it came out like this. Now I come here and add another generator named metal edge. This metal edge of mine is like this, that, well, it affects the edges of the model. But, well, I don't have a model here. My model is a plane. I come use micro detail. I turn on micro detail height. In micro height section, I come and attribute my mask. Well, now it recognizes the edges of these alphas. Now the work I do is I set its blending mode to subtract mode. And we see this happened, that this event is not correct. Why? Because this mask says where is white, layer must be specified. Our layer doesn't have opacity. So my labels become like this. I must come do what? I must come select metal edge and invert it. Now when I invert it, we can see that we have direct effect on the edges. We put like this. Well, we work a little with these grunge numbers and things like this to reach our intended result. I can bring contrast a little again, like this. I can use edge masking, edge smoothing, Here we can also use this curvature to control this issue, that how much effect we get from actually that alpha we are introducing as mask. Well, we can control this issue like this, and this simply we could apply a series of details here. Okay, these are very good. These are procedural methods, which are very good, but we need to come add some hand-painted touch too. So what do? I come make another fill layer, name it Edge Paint. And the work I do, again, opacity, negative height. A little this time, we can make our height less negative, opacity completely 0 too. I give it a black mask, a paint, and start painting a little manually. Look, we can manually paint these edges very easily. Come here in the brush section, for example, pick this artistic, and start painting, and create some corrosion on these edges. Look, the software name is Substance Painter, and we can paint. The more time you spend on this painting discussion, the detail you get is more unique and attractive. Okay, I do this work. For example, I use a little of this one. You see it puts a series of details like this. I can come here to my edge worn and decrease its grunge amount. So here I paint. I have more detail. Other than that, you can come here, use other brushes. For example, we use this brush, and you can create a series of corrosions in these labels. For example, we put 1 or 2 here, and work a little on the edges. And well, these finished. Meaning we did our edge paint stage, implemented our edge worn too, our work's color itself. We can come here and make it a little grayer, copy its color from here, paste here. Of course, color is something we can define in Unreal later too. After we did these works, now what do? As the last layer, we put a paint layer, name it Effect, and set its blending mode to pass-through mode. I right-click, Apply to all channels. I want to add 2 filters here. The first filter is Sharpen Filter, which causes all our effects to become sharper. Second filter is a filter that adds ambient occlusion, which, well, I come here and add Matte FX, HBAO option. I come here in Ambient channel, check, see if everything is going right, or up to here everything was okay. No problem exists either. Well, that's simple. Okay, this that we made now, how do we get output? This output method we come and implement for all resources we make in Painter for Unreal. I come here, option File, Export Textures, and in the Output Templates section, I come in this list and find Unreal Engine 4. Take a duplicate from it, name it M, for example, Game Camp. Well, of course I had a Game Asset Camp here before. The work I want to do, meaning the change I want to give on Unreal Engine template, is that I don't want my texture name to be very long. This is the first case. So I put BC for base color, and put ORM for occlusion roughness metallic, put only N for normal, and put E for emissive too. Okay, this up to here. Now this mesh sign that is hit behind this sign mesh that is hit, this means that when it exports, for example, our model name is plane 002, for example, plane 002 falls on that export. Here that I am making resource, I don't need such a thing at all. So I delete this mesh totally. So here we come and delete this case on all these outputs too. For now, I don't want to add a new case. I'm telling you these two, purely these which usually you should know, but well, purely for you to know what is happening. Now let's go to the main work. Emissive by no means needs to be PNG, so I make it JPG. This work I'm doing, end of the work, has a direct effect on the volume of that output we get. Meaning if you take all your textures PNG, nothing happens in your work. Only your volume, for example, instead of being 1 gigabyte, for example, becomes 2 gigabytes. This issue is this important. Well, our normal must be PNG and must be 16-bit. It is better to be 16-bit, generally. Well, ORM is not necessary at all to be PNG, and it is better to be JPG, and 8-bit is enough for it. But about base color, this model of works that has alpha, meaning has opacity, because in base color alpha channel A goes opacity sits. Here we must consider PNG an 8-bit. Pay attention, an 8-bit. Don't go for 16-bit at all. But if your base color didn't have opacity, you yourself must be careful. Manually, you must make this JPG, or you can make two templates, with opacity, without opacity, and define here that, sir, this must be JPG. Well, when I made this, I go into Settings section, from Output Template section, I select Game 1, and here set file type based on output template itself, bit depth also based on that define. I put size on 4K, define path for it, and then get my output. Now I don't have emissive, I can take this tick off here at all. When I export it, it gives me what? Gives 3 texture outputs that I take these later into Unreal and use them and advance my work. For now, at this level, we work this label sheet.